Welcome back. Today we are going to continue the lesson, that is rise of Hitler, rise of Nazism and rise of Hitler. Here we have to study today, that is Nazi worldview. So we have learned how Hitler came to power, right? And we have also learned Hitler's propaganda. How he raised the people, how he mobilized the people that we have seen. Today we are going to study about the Nazi worldview. Means in this we have to study that Hitler's views regarding Nazism that originated from two scientists, Charles Darwin and Herbert Spencer. Charles Darwin and Herbert Spencer, you have heard about or you might have studied about the theory of evolution, that was survival of the fittest. So Nazi argument was simple, that was the strongest race would survive and the weaker one would perish. So Hitler believed that the strongest race, in the sense the Aryans, the blue-eyed, blonde Aryans, white, blue-eyed Aryans, they would survive and the weakest one would perish. That was Hitler's argument. The weakest in the sense Hitler had considered Jewish people as the main enemy or as the weakest, because Hitler found Jewish people as the main enemy of Nazism. And other than that, the Polish people, communist people, these all people were considered as subhumans by Hitler. So Jewish people he had considered as the main enemy. So he thought that Jewish people should eliminate, and instead the finest race, that was he considered Aryans. So Aryans should survive. So he had believed from the survival of the fittest theory, he had argued that the strongest race that would be that is the Aryans race that would survive on the earth and the weakest one should perish. So he had eliminated all the other people, other non-German people, non-Aryan people, for example Polish people, communist people, then Russian people. These all people he had eliminated or he had segregated. For the segregation, first he had made every institution cleansed, or by segregating he had cleansed every institutions. By separating German pure Aryan race in one side and the other side. So he had segregated them. And he had made every institution for Aryans. The Jewish people or other race, they did not have any place in Germany to learn with, to educate with, or to work with the Aryan race. Everywhere he had followed the segregation policy. In the school even, children were segregated. So Aryan children separately, and for them schools were made and public places were made, churches were made. But non-Aryans like Jewish people, Russian people, Polish people, for them it was not available. For them the separate areas were constructed. So this all thinking that originated from Charles Darwin and Herbert Spencer. So this was Hitler's worldview. And he had considered that living space for the Aryans or the German, that was known as Lebensraum. So Aryans should get enough space to settle. They should get enough materials and resources to consume. Enough food to consume. For that living space he wanted to create. By joining the other parts of the countries to Germany, he wanted to make more territories for the Aryans. So everywhere he had followed the segregation. And I have told you that the separated Jewish, Polish and communist and Russian people, they had got some very much populated areas, very thickly populated areas they had to live in. Such just like slums we could see. So such areas were known as ghettos. In these ghettos, the living of people was very difficult. They had to live in a slum-like area where drainage was not proper, and they had to live in very harsh condition. So this was available for the other non-Aryan race. These all policies he had made, that all we can say as the Nazi worldview. And other than that, Hitler had also considered that the Nordic pure Aryan race as the superior race and the others as the inferior. Why he considered them or the Jewish people as inferior? Because he believed that the Christianity, they believe in Jesus Christ. So he believed that Jewish were the main people who had, who was the reason for Jesus Christ, for the imprisonment or the persecution of Jesus Christ. And the persecution of Jesus Christ, behind that, the main people who were the reason for that persecution was Jewish people. That Hitler considered. That is why he had a hatred towards Jewish people. And you had heard about Jesus Christ story, right? Jesus Christ was hanged on a cross, and he was being killed by the king. So the king got the news from one of the Jewish people, Jews. He had betrayed that where Jesus Christ was hiding. That betrayal, that was mainly the reason for Jesus Christ killing. That is why Hitler had a hatred towards all the Jewish people. And we have to see that. So he had created a racial state in Germany, racism. He had followed a racism policy in Germany, or he had created a racial state in Germany, where non-Aryans had no place in Germany. But Aryan race, they had enough place, enough opportunities, enough prosperity, enough living condition that was made available. Some of the Polish people, they were segregated, and first this segregation, when they were segregated, they were looking like the same like German Aryan race, white, blue eyes, blonde, etc. If they were looking like same, then they were sent to the race experts. The race expert, they had made or they had examined, and after that racial tests were used to be conducted. So after that racial test, suppose the Polish children were found to be German or the same like Polish children, or they were that children mainly white, blue-eyed and blonde, that children might be German, then they were sent to the German families. Suppose they were found to be the Polish children or the non-Aryan race, they were sent to the orphanages. You can think, you can imagine such a circumstance. If we will face, what would be our mentality, right? So non-Jewish people or non-Jewish children, very young, very less aged children, they were sent to the orphanages. Why? And after a racial test was common in Germany at that time. Racial experts were there. They used to do the racial test. If they passed, they were reared in the German family, and if they were failed, then they were brought to the orphanages. This was the thinking that Germany, in Hitler's Germany, they had followed.